you're moving from place to place. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. It is 7 a.m. 7 a.m. and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. As we continue to give God thanks for life, I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Maria Richardson George, and this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning to Tobago, good morning Trinidad, those of you viewing in the Caribbean, and those of you on the live, good Tuesday morning to you. Julian, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, good morning. Doing quite fine, and giving thanks, more importantly.
Nice, nice, beautiful day. And again, we've got that lovely backdrop, that lovely background. Yes. And that, I understand, is beautiful Argyle, Tobago. And this is a nice live shot here, Julian. Can you tell us, Julian, where
this is the Scarborough area there, in the vicinity of what has become fondly known as the stage in the sea. You know, in that vicinity, heading down on the stretch there. Very interesting. I'm not sure how persons utilize that space in terms of that entire stretch that leads up to the Esplanade. But I know for me, it's a kind of time-out space, you know. Yeah. Sometimes you may just take a walk on that stretch coming on up. I remember my school days, Scarborough Secondary.
Walking up from there.
Yeah, there wasn't even an Esplanade, if my memory serves me well.
In my days,
at that time.
in my days,
but
none.
Definitely walking up, enjoying the space there, enjoying the breeze, etc. And now we have that opportunity. We've got the stage where we can head on in a little further. We've got the Isle of Tobago side. We've got the Esplanade, you know, in terms of that stretch and that flow coming up there. So very interesting indeed.
That's right, Julian. You know, I tell you, it's a really relaxing space that one can utilize. You just park your car. I see several cars parked there, you know, mornings and evenings, and you know, person's just relaxing. I'm not sure what's happening in the cars, but I'm just saying, yeah, the park.
Yes, I realize that, you know, the space is definitely a lot more heavily utilized in terms of persons. And in fact, for some, it's even a parking to go by the Isle of Tobago sign now. Right. Very interesting indeed. Yes. All right, viewers, at this point, we head on over to news in 90 seconds.
Thank you so much, Julian and Ria. And here's your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, the 7th February. A total of 47 Tobagonians were honored on the Sunday at the Tobago Awards. They received the Medal of Honor in gold, silver, and bronze, along with the Chief Secretary's award. The recipients came from many sectors of Tobago, including community activism, entrepreneurship, meritorious service, sports, and even from the fishing industry. Among the awardees were Dr. Jefferson Davidson, Dr. Nathaniel Moore, Newton George, Kemper Duncan, Archdeacon Emeritus Kenneth Forrester, Patrice Carew Jack, Othniel Tobago Crusoe Bacchus, Celicia James Martin, Marie Toby, Joshua James, and Curtis Douglas. Additionally, the Office of the Attorney General indicated that they located the missing files related to the Vindra Naipaul Coolman murder case. Last Wednesday, 9 men were acquitted of the murder and awarded $20 million when the state failed to file a defense to the court. Attorney General Reginald Armour claimed that the files were missing, preventing the state from making the submission. An investigation has since been launched into the incident, and according to a press release last night, the lead investigator, Justice Stanley John, announced the files were located and it was handed over to Solicitor General Ms. Carleen Sinat for further investigations. And finally, Errol Fabian, a comedian and show host, declined the job hosting a Calypso show because he was not allowed to criticize the ruling PNM central government. On a social media post, Fabian claimed that the promoter was as serious as a heart attack when he was told no anti-PNM jokes. According to Fabian, Calypso is for the people, and if it becomes a pro-PNM charade, it is not a true reflection of Trinbagonians, and he will not be a part. And that was your news in 90 seconds. Back to you, Julian and Ria.
Thank you very much there,
Chanel,
for bringing us the information there and the highlights in the news. Very interesting.
Very interesting. I'm really surprised at that that story with Errol Fabian there. It really, I mean, I see what promoters trying to muzzle muzzle the artists now. What's
Very
happening
interesting.
there?
I'm a bit caught off guard
Yeah.
in relation to that. Certainly something I would have to look into a little closer by the time we got a break this morning. Very interesting indeed. All right, Ria. This morning I have the opportunity, Ria. This combination this morning is courtesy Checkpoint. And folks, that's Checkpoint located at Upper Main Street in Scarborough. And you know, Ria, I tend to generally sometimes I'll go with solid or bright type jackets and so on. But this combination,
We see that.
you know, it's a kind of print effect happening here. Very nice indeed, and comfy as well. In terms of the material and so on. And I just want to let you know, folks, a shirt and blazer this morning, courtesy Checkpoint, and that's Checkpoint located at Upper Main Street in Scarborough. That's 639-5148. Remember to check Checkpoint.
Definitely. We've also got to say good morning to Hair Sanctuary, Just My Size. Phyllis Grant, good morning to you. House of Norma, good morning. Mateos, we can't forget you out there.
Yes, the combination, the lineup indeed.
And I have to say, Julian, very quickly here that Mateos, as you know, is located Upper Scarborough. But they've got some surprises, some great surprises taking place in Trinidad. So there's this new Mateos outlet that will be happening in Trinidad. So for those persons, those customers and clients that have been going crazy, wondering how they can get enough or more than enough of the Mateos brand, it's going to be coming to you soon.
Indeed. Most definitely this morning. All right, we're heading on into our birthday celebration. Birthdays on the lineup this morning. We got a few. Our birthday celebrations. We get started this morning with Kurt Salandi. We want to wish you a happy birthday. And we bounced up as early as last night. I didn't even recognize the birthday was today. But don't worry, I caught it just in time. Mr. Kurt Salandi sending birthday shout outs from the entire family, wishing you the very best.
Happy birthday going out to you. And then we've got Father Phil Isaac celebrating a birthday, or Archdeacon Phil Isaac celebrating a birthday.
You know, and what's amazing with that,
going out to you.
I said to him sometime that, you know, I got so accustomed to the Father Phil. I said, don't worry, that's the foundation. That's where we are all at, so it's fine.
That's
all right. And at this point, I want to shout out, and these are birthdays coming up that we would have missed in the mix, Ria. And I want to shout out Lincoln Nelson, Administrator Lincoln Nelson, and this photo is actually courtesy of the division. He celebrated his birthday yesterday. I want to wish you a happy birthday, Admin Lincoln Nelson, and God's continued blessings. And we also have another birthday celebrant from yesterday. We want to wish you a happy birthday, Admin Nikisha Otley. And we want to say we trust that you enjoy the celebrations, and we definitely want to wish you God's continued blessings, Admin Nikisha Otley. Enjoy the birthday celebrations coming from the entire Tobago Updates family. All right? And we got another birthday in the lineup there this morning.
In fact, about two more.
Yes, indeed. But just before we go to that special birthday recognition, we're heading on over into one of our new segments for today. Let's head over to Focus on Tobago.
Leadership of the Tobago Regional Health Authority has been confirmed.
It took a while to get the board because I kind of wanted the best group of individuals that I could find to represent Tobago, to represent Tobago's interests, and to represent the various components that make up the board. I have seen on several occasions previous boards of the Tobago Regional Health Authority who made really horrible decisions.
After 1 year of careful consideration, Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection, Dr. Faith B. Israel, said she is confident that the new members of the TRHA Board of Directors are the best individuals to lead the organization into the future. At the helm is a respected attorney at law, former senator, and minister with 28 years of experience.
This is somebody who, when I asked her, I called her, I said, you know what, I need someone who I know is solid. I need someone who I know can hold the reins. I need someone who I know could be at the head of this organization that we've been having so many issues with all of these years. Someone who can say, hey, this is where we are going, and hold the ship tight as we rock, as we steady. That person, of course, is Miss Chrislyn Moore.
Danique Jerry is Deputy Chairman and Director, THA Interest. Alana Allen, Director Finance and the Economy. Dr. Bridget Edmond Benoit, Director Medicine. Yvette Parks Caruth, Director Public Interest and Welfare. Nikosi Dick, Director Business Management. Macasey Prince Martin, Director Research Project and Operations Management. Karen Moore Nicholson, Director Nursing. And Sangeeta Sue, Director Personnel Management and Industrial Relations, with TRHA Chief Executive Officer Simon Wiltshire as ex officio member. This team has been mandated to bring their years of experience in diverse spheres and love and passion for Tobago to push the organization in becoming the premier health authority locally and regionally.
We at the Tobago House of Assembly says to the TRHA, this is what we want you to do. These are the healthcare services we want you to implement. The board of the Tobago Regional Health Authority is the entity that is the go-between between the Secretary of Health, Wellness and Social Protection and the CEO and the actual implementation. So I give policy. This is a large policy that we're going with. So for example, I said to them on the first day that we need to work on the organizational structure of the organization. That is a policy decision of the Tobago House of Assembly. We need to finally fix the organizational structure of the Tobago Regional Health Authority. And I've said to the chairman, I've said to the board, this is now your mandate.
The new board of directors will serve for a period of 2 years.
Yes, good morning and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. That was Tobago in Focus, courtesy of the Department of Information. Ria. But before we go any further, let's continue very quickly with the rest of birthday celebrations this morning. All right, we got on screen with us this morning Dr. Pearloise Otley Alexander. All right, as some know her even better, Pearly Whites. All right, wishing you a happy birthday coming from Vernris, Laverne, the entire family, Maurice, all the children, wishing you a happy birthday and God's continued blessings. All right. And we had this gentleman on screen. He was on with us. I think that was just in last year, 2022. Yes. And this photo is actually courtesy Fashion TT. And it's the man himself, Ecliff Eli. And this was a birthday that we missed yesterday. And in fact, the celebration was extra special yesterday. And I'm hoping that I would have some additional photographs to show you that lineup later on in the week, Ria, because he chose and took the opportunity yesterday on his birthday to open his very own Tobago branch. And that was a commitment, you know, that he spoke to that vision of wanting to expand and ensure, while he had a number of Tobago clients, you know, to bring that actual store to Tobago right here in the Crown Point area. So again, we want to say happy birthday going out to you, my brother, Ecliff Eli, and also certainly taking the opportunity to say kudos and commendations in following through. And I've got the commitment from Ecliff and the entire team that we will certainly have more images that will be coming forward showcasing the details of the opening. And who knows, we might very well have to head on down to Ecliff Eli to do a show on the outside. All right?
Definitely.
We might certainly have to do that. All right? And, you know, in a bit of sad news.
Yeah. Yes. So this is Kabesi, Fernell Winchester, known as Kabesi, who passed away last week. And we take the opportunity this morning to extend condolences to the family. His son who we understand gave up his job to take care of his dad during the last few days, weeks of his life here on earth. We understand that this is going to be a difficult period, but we continue to pray God's peace and blessings upon the family. And this is coming from all of us here at Tobago Updates, the class of 89 of Signal Hill Secondary School, Signal Hill Senior Comp, and from my family to the Winchester family out there of Patience Hill, Tobago. So love going out to you and God's peace at this time.
All right,
this is a tough one.
It is indeed.
One.
And I remember the efforts, you know, even Assemblyman Teat and the entire
and
team
Toya
there.
Kent. And I have to say,
yeah, Signal Hill really
these persons rallied. They did indeed.
In that true Tobago spirit, you know, we looked out for our brother and did, you know, the very best under the circumstances. And we got a quick notice of relocation. That's a notice of relocation. And the Tobago Regional Health Authority will relocate their administrative head office to TAM Building, and that's number 5 Montessori Drive, Glen Road, Scarborough. Our current office at Dorita's Court and the purchasing department housed at Scarborough General Hospital will be closed on Friday the 9th and 10th, 2023. That's February 9th and 10th, 2023 to facilitate the relocation. Partial financial, administrative, and purchasing services will resume at number 5 Glen Road from February 13th to the 17th, 2023, with full resumption of services on February 22nd, 2023. So this is a notice of reminder that the Dorita's Court and the purchasing department housed at Scarborough General Hospital for the Tobago Regional Health Authority will be closed on February 9th and 10th, 2023 to facilitate relocation. Partial financial, administrative, and purchasing services will resume at Glen Road from February 13th to the 17th, 2023, and there will be a full resumption of services on February 22nd, 2023. We apologize for any inconvenience caused in facilitating this relocation. All right. Ria, who do we have? Who do we have?
I know we're anxious to head on into, but I just want to send a shout out this morning to a gentleman I met yesterday. I think by accident, but I don't believe in accidents. But it was nice meeting him anyway. He is a son of the soil, but living in St. Martin, and that is Curtis Calendar. He's in Tobago, I understand, it really was to attend the funeral of his daughter-in-law. So I'm really sorry that that's what brought you back home at this time. So condolences to you, your son, and the rest of the family. But, you know, we say happy home visit and trust that your stay here is going to be an enjoyable one in spite of. But he did say something quite interesting to me, Julian. He said, you're that lady from the TV show. He said, I live in St. Martin and I look at the show every morning. Unfortunately, since he's been at home, he's not been able to view the show because he's been quite busy tending to family matters.
And understandably so.
Understandably so. So we take the opportunity this morning to send out a nice shout out this morning to you, Curtis Calendar, and continue viewing us when you get back to St. Martin.
Indeed. All right, viewers, and who do we have coming up next? Coming up next, our first in the lineup this morning, we get prepared to welcome on set Giselle Davis, Registration and Initiative Officer of the Department of Agriculture. So we're looking at agriculture incentives for Tobago. Yes, give us a wave there. Agriculture incentives for Tobago. And you see, she gives a very dignified, queenly kind of wave. All right, so we've got Giselle Davis coming up next. All right, and we look forward to those discussions.
Yeah, and we continue the discussion this morning, chatting with Sean Roberts. And Sean is going to talk to us and share with us about how we can recycle at carnival events. As you know, carnival is just about a week away, Julian. Can we safely say about a week and a half away? Yes, I know you got those dates locked down. So, you know, he's going to chat with us on how we can dispose of our waste in a fashionable manner to ensure that at the end of the day, our island is kept safe and clean.
All right, and this morning we get the opportunity to wrap with Okuku Owari, founder of Tobago All-Stars Calypso 10. We look forward to those discussions as we get some insights into the Tobago All-Star Calypso 10 opening. So we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support from each and every one of you out there. And we've got on the live, we see Laura Bernard, Carla Strim, George, Pearl Murray Beard, We see Selma Lashley, Erica Oxley, Marilyn Spence, Joe Field, QQ Melville, Lisa James, the entire team out there. We want to thank you so much, each and every one of you, for the continued love and support, and to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from
welcome
place
back
to
to
place.
Tobago Updates Morning Show, coming to you here live.
Good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. It is 7:21 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, viewers, in this segment, we head on into our discussions with Giselle Davis, Registration and Initiative Officer of the Department of Agriculture. And this morning, we're speaking agriculture incentives for Tobago. Morning to you, Giselle. And how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm quite okay, thank you.
All right. Happy to have you on indeed. And as we get the conversation started this morning, before we even dive into the relevant initiatives, I want you to give us a sense of, tell us about this greater objective and what does this incentive specifically treat with?
Right. So the agricultural incentive is just geared towards encouraging persons to get involved in agriculture. It is a means to boost production, as well as to attract new players to the sector, and to encourage good agricultural practices.
All right. So tell us, these initiatives that are being facilitated, is this happening nationwide, or is this one of those limited to Tobago?
I missed that question. Sorry,
so,
let's go again.
No, I was indicating to you. Just give us an idea. Is this initiative happening nationwide, or is this one of those that is limited to Tobago?
Oh, this is a national program. It has been in existence for a number of years. And what is afforded to our Trinidad players is also afforded to us in Tobago.
All
so
right.
It's equal across the board.
So I want you to give us an idea, a listing of what is actually available to Tobagonians, and who is the target audience?
Right. So our target audience will be anyone in the farming community who is registered with the Division of Agriculture. So I will speak to beekeepers, agro-processors, farmers, cooperatives, and organizations. Hope I didn't leave out anyone. And what they can claim for is anything that is agriculturally related.
All right. So I want you to tell us a little further. These persons would have had to be registered. What's the process for registration with the division?
Right. So to be a registered farmer or agro-processor with our division, one will need to be farming on approximately one lot of land. If you're into crop production And we will look at least 5 breeding animals if you're into livestock, except for the category of poultry, of course. The persons may or may not need to possess land tenure. Before, we would have mostly focused on ownership. Now we speak to just, you must just be able to show that you have permission to occupy and farm on said property. You must be a national, of course, of Trinidad and Tobago. If you're not a national, then you must show us resident status. So there's a form that is available at the office. The form must be completed. It is verified by our district extension officers. And from there, they would determine whether the person will have met the basic criteria to be a registered farmer.
All right. So once you're registered now, tell us a little bit. Let's get into the meat of it. What are these actual incentives? The values? Does it go based on the size of my farm? What my intake? How much I spend? Let's give us an idea. What are the incentives, and how do you kind of weight against what persons will be eligible for?
All right. So the incentives, they start actually from equipment and machinery, water for agriculture. We have land preparation. There are incentives for agri-processors to bring your holding up to HACCP readiness. We have for marketing as well. So each incentive, and I must mention that there are also incentives for vehicles as well. I must also mention very importantly that persons who are desirous of accessing these incentives must show land tenure. Must. So, as I previously mentioned, even if you are a registered farmer, the land tenure is not mandatory. But because this is a form of investment, you must show us that you have authority to be farming where you are farming. So, each incentive, coming back to that, carries its own rebate percentage. So, the incentive is not a before, it's after. It's a rebate system. So the person purchases, farmers, fisher folk, beekeepers, agri-processors, and we now give back up to 50% of what they will have spent.
Oh, so you can qualify for up to 50%?
Up to 50%.
In terms of what would have been
right.
spent?
In some cases, it will indicate 100%, but there's always a cutoff point. So each incentive carries its own rebate percentage and its cutoff point, what we call a maximum, which we would pay. So, for example, under the equipment and machinery incentive, that will cover items like your brush cutters, your water pumps, items like those. The rebate on that is 50%, but all we would pay is $50,000 per fiscal year per farmer.
Oh, so whichever is higher, either the 50% or 50,000 at max is the dollar value.
Yes.
So even if your 50% goes up to 60,
we could only pay you 50,000.
Okay. All right. Under the circumstances. Now tell us, persons may be wondering, is this something that is accessible? Yes, we know that all can apply, but is there a method by which persons have access to it, or it's broadly open to everyone that applies as an opportunity to have access to it?
Once you are actively farming on at least one lot of land and you possess land tenure, you can apply.
All right. I want you to give us a sense, because one would say, wow, boy, further assistance again in this field. Tell us why do you particularly feel this is critical and important? As you said, it's an initiative that has been started for some time now. Why is it particularly important now in 2023 as we continue to go forward, just after the realities of a pandemic and how we naturally became so dependent now on our very own?
Well, you will have said it clearly. Coming out of the pandemic, we know that economic challenges a lot of us would have faced and still facing. A lot of our farmers, well, it is arguable that we can say that this is one of the most viable sectors or most needed. Allow me to just say that for a little bit. So therefore, the agricultural incentive program is really needed because it kind of cushions, to some extent, the expenditure that the farmer or the stakeholder has to incur. So I would say that it is much needed, and as you mentioned, it has been in existence for a number of years with minimal challenges.
What has the uptake been over the years as compared to and now coming through a pandemic? Because you heard a lot of persons complain with the challenges and so on, and the impact. How has it been utilized from your experience over the years versus in more recent times?
Well, I would say probably in recent times it was less challenging in terms of, or let me say this, in the most challenging part of the program as it relates to our stakeholders is that land tenure issue. So if persons are willing to put out, yes, because of course it's their business, but in terms of accessing the program, one of the challenges they face is that land tenure issue, which doesn't really come from our department, but mainly a personal challenge, so to speak.
So I want you to explain, is land tenure exclusive to, they have to own the land as a name on the deed?
No.
Good. So just bring some clarity for us.
Prior, we focused on that land ownership, where you must have been the registered owner of the property. It was eased a number of years ago, where we now look at land tenure. Land tenure meaning that for me, for example, I might be an owner of a parcel of land, and you might be interested, or you might be a relative to me in farming. So what we can do is do an agreement, a lease agreement, or I can give you an affidavit. However, whatever land tenure document the person intends on using must be a legal binding document. All right, so even if I'm giving you a letter of permission, even if I type it up or I handwrite it up, it must be sealed by a lawyer, commissioner of affidavits, or a JP. Must. And also, I must show that I have the rights to give you permission to occupy the parcel of land. Even though I am not the registered owner, I might be the person in charge of and paying taxes on behalf of same.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the follow-up that you do with these farmers, whether it is your unit or other arms of the division. Because someone comes, I indicate, I bring my documentation, I'm registered, I want to get that grant. You process it, you give me the money, and you say, until next time. What's the process for follow-up to ensure that at the end of the day, the continued work and effort of our farmers continue to be focused on being able to provide for the greater need here in Tobago?
When you know that in everything that you try to do, there's always some shortcomings, all right? However, we have 8 agricultural districts in Tobago that are manned by 8, sometimes some districts may carry 2 extension officers. So they are the persons who do for us the verification, and to some extent, if you want to call it, monitoring. Because some of our incentives, they are in parts. So some incentives are one-time pay. So for example, equipment and machinery, 50%, one payment. But like for a vehicle incentive, it's over a 3-year period. So you get paid in tranches. So that applicant must show continued farming activity to qualify for the incentive each year.
Excellent. So therefore, this is where the arms of the division work together,
yes,
to ensure that kind of follow-up. Remind our viewers, again, for those tuning in and now learning about these incentives, which may have been around for some time, as you indicated, how do they get in contact? Where can they contact? Telephone, email, contact information to be able to seek out these grants, website, etc.?
Right. So if I may correct, we want to stay away from the word grant just a little bit,
okay.
Although we know that is what most persons are looking for, but our program is a rebate program.
So it's incentives.
Incentives. Right. You spend, we give back. However, there is one incentive that we call the new use in agriculture, grants. Right? And I say grant because it's also a rebate system. You have to show investment in that particular aspect to qualify for that grant. That's the only way, that's the only one that we refer to as a grant.
Okay, and that is youth.
New youth in agriculture.
Oh, so that's encouraging a greater participation, right, and as the name implies.
By the word youth, we say 17 to 40.
Okay, youth moves up very high there.
17 to 40, and you must show formal training in agriculture.
Right.
All right. So coming back to what you would have asked prior, We are located under the Melshave Administrative Complex, Shervan Road. That's just, we are housed in the same building with licensing department. Our numbers are 639-1966, extension 3585, 3586. So, feel free to call or come in and give us a visit, and we can have a conversation.
Excellent. In closing, anything else you'd want to share before we wrap this morning's interview? Final 30 seconds.
Well, it's just that, the agricultural incentive program is ready and available, and we are also ready and willing to work with all, and we just welcome your participation.
All right. Thank you very much there, Giselle. That's Giselle Davis for joining us here on set this morning, Registration and the Initiative Officer of the Department of Agriculture. And this is the point where I head on to the live, because certainly there's a viewer that is able to connect with and remembers Giselle from the very early days. Lidmoy Brebner Dillon. Oh. Hey, my former student. Yes. At Belgarden Early Childhood Center. All right, certainly indeed. And the smiles is on her face as she remembers those memories out of her school days. So we want to thank you so much for joining us here on set this morning and bringing us the information. And remember, folks, connect with the Department of Agriculture. Seek out these opportunities. You may know someone who can benefit from these agriculture incentives. Let them definitely check out the Agriculture Department in an effort to seek to get as much as they could as they continue to make their contribution here in the Tobago space, all right? And viewers, at this point, we head on over just to highlight for you an upcoming event that's carded for February 21st, all right? Stand Up Nothing. Extra steam, vibes. It's Carnival Tuesday morning happening in Friendsfield. Coolers, foam, water, breakfast, 4 a.m. till. Monster DJ cars ready up. All right, you can contact the contact persons for tickets is 703-7143, 371-5245, and 313-9918. It's backyard. Indeed, indeed. We going all out. We're going all out. All right, and the hotline is 708-0000. This takes place February the 21st in Friendsfield. It's right in the area, it's in the middle. If you're coming from the east, you come down. If you're coming from the west, you come up. It's right in the middle, all right? Ensure that you get involved. And we have coming up next on set with us, Sean Roberts, Managing Director of Recycling, Waste and Logistics Limited. How to recycle at Carnival events. Yes, this is the time where we tend to rest things aside as we revel and enjoy the culture and the art form. All right, he's going to give us some insights into how do we make the best of those circumstances within this season. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for the continued love and support here and for choosing the Tobago Updates morning show. And this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Roxborough Argyle, your executive council is coming to meet with you. The THA will continue its district town hall meeting series on Tuesday, February 7th at the Sid Grace Sporting Complex from 6:30 p.m. Come out as the executive council members give updates on existing and upcoming programs and projects. You also get the opportunity to share your concerns and ask questions.
Well, yeah, I gotta be in the meeting. Of course.
Yes, I will be in the meeting.
Yes, I will be there. With me crutch. Plenty concerns going around in this Argyle Roxborough district.
Support the meeting.
I certainly have some things to say.
This might be the opportunity given to people of Roxborough and environs to hear their views, ask all the pertinent questions.
Plenty concerns going around in this Argyle Roxborough district. I'm going all over. Look me foot, look me thing.
So join us from 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, February 7th at the Sid Grace Sporting Complex for the Executive Council District Town Hall meeting. Remember, your voice matters.
Chart a way forward.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Excel Spa by Haley, where our highly trained staff are ready to deliver the top-class services in facial massages, waxing, nail enhancement, and body treatment. We are ideally located at Coco Avenue, Switzerland, Tobago. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TripAdvisor, or you can call us on 730-0149. Excel Spa by Haley. Relax, renew, and rejuvenate.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. It is 7:40 a.m. and we're coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Yes, folks, and this morning, continue to highlight, yes, Blazer and Shirt, our sponsor this morning is Checkpoint, and that's Checkpoint located at Upper Main Street in Scarborough, 639-5148. Remember to Checkpoint. As we head on into this segment this morning, viewers, we are going to be having a conversation with Sean Roberts, Managing Director of Recycling, Waste and Logistics Limited. And he's doing it a little different this morning, bringing that reality to us, viewers, bringing that reality to us. How to recycle at Carnival events and it's Carnival time. Good morning and welcome to you, Sean.
How are you, sir?
All right. So viewers, just in case you're seeing some beverage tops and so on, no, it is not beverages on set this morning. All right. Sean, tell us, we are speaking recycling, and before we get into, the Carnival events, just give us a little synopsis. How has things been going, particularly based on your efforts at the Recycling, Waste and Logistics Limited?
Well, morning everyone on the platform, Tobago, Trinidad, the Caribbean, rest of the world. Share the life, share the life.
Yes.
Right? I must say thanks to the people of Tobago and even visitors to our shores for participating and making efforts to separate your recyclables from your garbage and putting it in the nearest drop-off bins across Tobago. Right? I must say since Tobago Carnival, I must say that the momentum have picked up and it continued, throughout the Christmas seasons. We wish to thank you guys for that. So in the new year, we realized that the public are becoming more aware of the recycling. So, just for the Carnival season, we're going to be consuming a lot of products that package in plastics, cans, Tetra Paks, you name it. So just to give you all an idea as to give a mental picture and practical as to what are recyclable and what is accepted. Actually, what you see here on the table, you can put all in the same bag, right? But if it's like, for example, like paper rolls and egg crates and cardboard boxes and stuff, that is where you can be able to put in another bag. What I would strongly advise is, if possible, we can be able to use the transparent or translucent bags. You can find them in the groceries, and actually the labelings actually have recycle. For your garbage, of course, you use any opaque color bag. It could be blue, black, green, whatever, I mean, yes, the green bags you will see, those are from the litter eradication program where they clear they recover the recyclables from the public spaces. So, I mean, it's an ongoing process, and it's the same sort of activities we are continuing in schools this year, throughout the rest of the year. And what we are going to do as well is that we are going to be at different communities from March going forward. We are going to be having different pop-up events where it involves, you know, some trivias and giveaways and stuff. And even we'll have some surprise packages as well in regards to health and wellness.
Sean, I want you to tell us, we're seeing a wide range of items here. So we're seeing what might be considered those hard plastic, those we buy in the grocery, the oils, you know, the dishwashing liquid and so on. And I'm seeing in the mix what might be considered the softer plastics, like the soft drink bottles, etc. Juice, there's the milk carton, the boxes that go with that, eggs and the, you know, the crate and that kind of thing. What should go, I want you to give us a sense. What do you try to keep separate from what in terms of, especially if you want to move them or pass them on to the recycling center and to come to drop off your bag at Shore Park or at any of the bins located around the island?
Right. What you can do, I mean, one of our taglines is group it up and come in, right? Group it up. And the key tagline for the public-private partnership program, which is the Tobago Recycling Resource Initiative, TRI, our slogan for TRI is recycling made simple. So all what you see here, you can put in the same bag, correct?
So
And
the plastics, whether they hard, soft plastics, the cans, all can go into the same bag.
All can go into the same bag. What actually we advise to do, I know if we ask, you know, you all to rinse it before you place it in the bags, I mean, we have to conserve our water resources. So if it is that is something like it's a beverage or so, you could just take it off and you can just empty it and put it in the bag. If it's something like a food can, all you just have to do, because of the type of product, you can just simply just give it a little rinse, shake it up, and empty it in your sink, and you put it inside there. Because people don't realize that when you see you do this, that reduces your the presence of pests, odor, when you separate your garbage. One of the things that you have to also bear in mind is that that is something that we soon going to add to the stream, where we're going to add the food waste to the stream, where you separate your food items in a separate bag. But that's a special type of collection that have to take place. But right now, what you see here, this is common in the space. So that's why, you know, we make it simple, where if you see like the glass bottles and stuff, you can be able to put those in the same bag and drop it off at a bin. The curbside collection, I mean, we still going to be continuing it in the 4 villages that we started: Charlottesville, Speyside, Roxborough, Delaford, and stuff. So we continue that. Castara is supposed to be added to that as well.
All right. And tell us as well, I noticed you didn't mention the paper items. Those go in a separate bag?
Yes.
All right.
In fact, if I can show you exactly how you when you have your cardboard boxes. Usually it will be something like this. So what you do, you flatten it and you package it together in this stuff. Sometimes you will see a box will be like that.
Right.
Try as much as possible. Press the bottom, flatten it, and you put it inside there. The same thing like with the box that have tape. All you just have to do is take something sharp, a sharp object, and cut it down the center, and you open it and you flatten it like that.
So you try your best to ensure that your cardboard boxes and paper, that you flatten them. I suppose that also helps with maximizing the space.
The space, that's correct.
In terms of what a bag would be able to hold. Now, I want you to tell us, Sean, within the carnival season, we see naturally the use of the tendency for more plastics. In some instances, if you don't have restrictions, some people may have a glass bottle. Some are tending to restrict it now. So what you kind of do is wherever we park, we pour out the alcohol from the glass bottle. but then we forget, you know, it's not just to drop the glass bottle on the side of the road. Tell us, what's your advice and tips, particularly in this carnival season, for persons who will be involved?
Well, in fact, what we strongly advise you all to do is, as much as possible, if you can use your reusable water bottles or your beverage bottles, even the cups as well, if as much as possible you can use it. So if it is that you know, okay, you're going to a cooler fet or a cooler lime, or before you go and play mass, you empty all your product into the packaging that you're going to be reusing, and all you just have to do is put all your recyclable in the same bag. When you're on your way home, you just find a drop-off bin, drop it inside there, and that is one of the, it makes it easier for the LEP, and then when you see, especially the carnival finish, that they will be doing the cleanup. What I'll also encourage promoters to do is to also, while the music truck is going around, when people empty their packaging, they must be able to be willing to have the patrons hand the empty packaging to them, and that way it's going to, that way they're going to divert as much material from hitting the roadsides, you know.
And that's a very interesting point that you're making. Calling on those bands and so on, that you would have the driving bars that support whatever the packages that you have paid for, that persons also cater on those vehicles for persons to be able to do their drop-off. What has, you know, you would probably be aware, and what has the situation been in terms of those quote-unquote cleanup efforts that happen? I know we have teams and so through a number of our THA initiatives and so that will be on the road real time. Are they also part of that kind of support? Do you have that kind of connection to ensure that for those who did not necessarily comply with the dropping off in the ideal space, that you can still benefit from those recyclable materials?
Yes, in fact, one of the things that we have, when TRI was established, we had included the litter eradication program. That's a program under the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection. Because they are responsible for the cleanup efforts at public bins, any public space. For the carnival, we had coordinated with them to, you know, to do as much clean, is like clean as you go, clean as you work, clean as you operate, so to speak. And I must say that by the time Tobago Carnival was finished at 6 o'clock on Sunday, those guys were on the road recovering the material. In fact, we have had to make sure the plant available. In fact, the plant is available for drop-off with drivers 24/7, you know. So people don't realize that when cleanup efforts take place during the night season, those guys drop off at the facility during the night and stuff. So we make it as much, the recovery efforts, as efficient and flexible as possible, so that at least you can be able to, it's to minimize the presence of waste material in the public space.
All right, excellent. And as we look to wrap this morning's interview, I wanted to remind the persons, for those who thinking Shore Park is still the only place that I have to go to be able to drop off. I know that there are a number of bins that have been made available across Tobago. Let's give us a broad sense of some of the villages or the areas, you know, that those bins are located in, for the person that isn't easily able to make it down to the Shore Park space. Mind you, going down there, you get the benefit of seeing the whole workings.
Exactly. And, well, you see what happens in the western part of Tobago. We have been in Pigeon Point, beach facilities, Torby, Penny Savers in Canaan. When we go in more southwest, going eastbound, we have been at RT Morsed Supermarket, Penny Savers in Canby, Boko Integrated Facility, Moonova Water Bar. It have one closer next between Waves and the villas on the Grafton Road, behind the Grafton Hotel. We have one in Castara on Castara Bay Road, Lanswami, Charlotteville, George Street in Glamorgan, Sid Gray Car Park in Roxborough, John Dial, Job Trees and Colonel Road South in Calder Hall. even close to the Election and Boundaries Commission by J. Wong's warehouse. We have one up there, Backlet Point. So we have 39 locations across Tobago, and you will find that some of them might be adjusted, because especially in Delaford, they are one of the areas that have 2 bins by the Delaford Community Center and also on the Delaford Bay Road. So we're trying to cover and be central to as much communities as possible. But one of the ultimate activity that we're working on rolling out and make it become part of our habit is the curbside collection, where one day will be assigned to a community to put out recyclables on that particular day, and it will be collected and it goes to the facility. We're working towards first world status in regards to waste management.
Excellent indeed. And I want to say kudos and commendations to you again, Sean Roberts, for not just leading this initiative, but leading it passionately. And you know, I had the opportunity quite recently with the visit of District Governor for Rotary in terms of visiting this project. One I know certainly it's work that we can look at following up, and the Rotary Club of Southwest Tobago also involved with the recycling initiative. And I want to use the opportunity here to put out that challenge to other NGO groups and organizations. You can collect your plastics from right within your very own space and make your contributions to this effort, and encourage those in your organizations and groupings, not just in your homes, but in your organizations and groupings. Put out the challenge, similar to Rotary, where it is they have that responsibility, and we'd indeed be contributing to the greater efforts here and making some headway, as opposed to seeing these plastics lodged in areas and spaces that we know will affect our natural circumstances in the long run. So kudos and commendations again to you, Sean Robert. Yeah. And I know this is the opportunity, folks, as we head on out of this segment, that Sean is an avid supporter of the Tobago Updates morning show. So what do we say as we head on out to a break? Share the life, share the life, share the life.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry, don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry, if your nice can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry, if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry, if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Roxborough Argyle, your executive council is coming to meet with you. The THA will continue its district town hall meeting series on Tuesday, February 7th at the Sid Gray Sporting Complex from 6:30 p.m. Come out as the executive council members give updates on existing and upcoming programs and projects. You also get the opportunity to share your concerns and ask questions.
Well, yeah, I gotta be in the meeting.
Of course.
Yes, I will be in the meeting.
Yes, I will be there. With me crutch. Plenty concerns going around in this Argyle Roxborough district.
Support the meeting.
I certainly have some things to say.
This might be the opportunity given to people of Roxborough and environs to air their views, ask all the pertinent questions.
Plenty concerns going around in this Argyle Roxborough district. I'm going all over. Look me foot, look me thing.
So join us from 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, February 7th at the Sid Gray Sporting Complex for the Executive Council District Town Hall meeting. Remember, your voice matters.
Chart a way forward.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
And welcome back, viewers, to the Tobago Updates morning show. And that's a beautiful live shot of Lower Scarborough. Persons making their way along the Old Milford Road. All right, that's the Old Milford Road leading you towards Shore Park area. Still traffic moving very smoothly. So if you're leaving home, now is a good time to be on those roads. Anytime after now, you're late. You're running pretty late. Just before we get into our next interview, we've got a quick announcement and a couple of birthdays to share, and that is on the here of a relocation. So let's get to that relocation. Notice of relocation. The Tobago Regional Health Authority will relocate all administrative head office to TAM Building, number 5 Montessori Drive, Glen Road, Scarborough. Our current office at Doroters Court and the purchasing department housed at Scarborough General Hospital will be closed on February 9th and 10th, 2023 to facilitate the relocation. Partial financial, administrative, and purchasing services will resume at number 5 Glen Road from February 13th to the 17th, 2023, with full resumption of services on February 22nd, 2023. We do apologize for any inconvenience caused. However, this relocation, yeah, they cut it halfway there. All right, but again, there's an apology here for any inconvenience that has been caused. And very quickly here, we've got 2 birthdays, 2 lovely birthday girls celebrating today. If we can get them up really quickly. And this is Akeisha Ashby celebrating her birthday today, one of my beautiful daughters. Akeisha, there she is again. Happy birthday going out to you, Akeisha, and lots of love from all of us here at Tobago Updates, Uncle Oswald and the family, Roxborough Open Bible, and Hermes Kent out of Speyside celebrating as well. I love going out to you, Hermes, from all of us. We love you, love you. Have a great one. All right, now, viewers, we're going to switch gears as we talk this morning with a son of the soil. Not only is he son of the soil, but he is he's one of the stalwarts in Calypso, I'd like to say, a man deeply rooted in Tobago's culture. And this is Opoku Wari, the founder of the Tobago All-Stars Calypso tent. And I tell you, this ain't no second man in terms of the lyrics and the contribution that he's made over the years to Calypso and culture in Trinidad and Tobago and in Tobago. Good morning and welcome to Opoku.
Yeah, good morning to you here and to all the viewing public.
No, was I right in saying that this is a man deeply rooted in Tobago's culture?
No, well, I mean, what is what is, we can't,
That's right. What is what is.
And all that,
No.
We just got to work.
Yes. Now we're talking about the Tobago All-Stars Calypso tent opening. Now let's go back a little bit here. How long has the Tobago All-Stars Calypso tent been in existence?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that Carnival is really the expression of the creative spirit of our people. And mass, steel band, and calypso remain the foundation elements of our carnival culture. In terms of calypso, and in this instance, the Tobago was sent, it was since about 2008, we decided, a few of us decided we're going to form this little tent because we didn't get into one of the big tents there.
Right.
And we started our performances, and then we had the King, who was the head of the Tukos, came and he said, well, Barry, but here what's going on. Or they come, their members are singing the tents, so they have better chances in the competition and things. I said, well, yeah, we would do it, but we will still hold on to the tents. So what we used to do is to have our tents starting Carnival Friday, when all the tents are members, people are out of contract. So we operate Friday, and our main objective was to cater to returning Tobagonians and the foreigners from Trinidad who came down to Trinidad Carnival who come into Tobago. And we have established a flagship event called the Goat Race, Calypso, and Steel Band Festival at Buku Point, at Buku facility, which takes place the Sunday after Carnival. So in this instance, it would be on the 26th of February, where we'll have goat racing, Calypso, we'll begin steel bands, you know, it will be a massive explosion, a traditional carnival culture in Tobago then. But we are opening, our first opening would be this Thursday, 8 p.m. at Green Light. Where used to be Green Light is now Retro Palace. That is on the Canaan Main Road, right next to the big tire shop. Where used to be Green Light, where you have the big backing times dances and so on. That is where we're opening, because we needed a covered venue. And it is going to be one of the greatest explosion of artistic culture ever. Why do I say this?
Yes.
I went around to look for some talent, because right through Tobago there is talent, but we got to find the talent, give them a chance on stage, and make them develop. So, and what I discovered is that we have two of the finest exponents of extempo calypso here in Tobago, Anderson McPhee and Alistair McClatchy, who goes under the sobriquet of Splasho. These are two of the, you're talking about Gypsy and them fellas in Trinidad, we have them right here.
We have our own.
Yeah, that these fellas, no, extempo is a special talent, because they are composed on the spot and so on. So only special men, a gift you have to do that. And I'm confident that what we have in terms of extempo with these two fellas, it is going to be something to savor on the night.
And who are some of these?
Right. So remember the names, McPhee and McClatchy.
Right.
Now, in terms of the other performance, we have two of the greatest exponents of traditional calypso in Tobago. The former Tobago Young King, Alin Granville, people know him as Grano, football referee and all of that. He have a big song on Lord Nelson, tribute to Lord Nelson. And we also have Zorro, who is a two-time Tobago heritage monarch. These men know how to sing Kaiso, real Kaiso, raw Kaiso. These are quality singers along that line. Now, what we also have, as I said, we're always looking for talent. You know, there was a fella, the guy who, they like to talk about Minchel, brought street theater to Trinidad Carnival, trying to do Carnival. Nonsense. The man who, in terms of exposing street culture, street theater, in terms of Carnival, is a guy from right here called Abyssinia, Hubert Nichols. Now, Hubert Nichols was from Government House Road. And he was, that's one in the 40s, he went to Venezuela when they find oil in Venezuela, Maracaibo, a lot of Trinidadian Tobago went down there. And he learned the art of devil mask in Venezuela. I don't know how he get. But he came back to Tobago and he established devil mask, Black Devil, where he would be depicting the thing of hell, you know, all the dreadness of hell. The dreadness of hell, he would depict that in his devil mask. So he would have two horns, two cow horns on his head. He would have a fork with two sprangs. Then he would have fire on his head with a bully face, fire on his tail, black, he mouth red, and a man with a chain holding him back. And he used to control Carnival in Scarborough. When that time Scarborough used to be jam-packed, not like now. Jam-packed with people. And when the police wanted to clear the road...
Scarborough was the place to be.
Huh?
Scarborough used to be the place to be.
Yeah. Abyssinia is the man who would come and clear the road. And for years, from the 50s right up to the early 70s, he ruled Tobago Carnival. And he used to put on a whole act. No other devil. Now, one of the persons we have in this tent is the granddaughter of Abyssinia, Aisha Nichols.
And she is very
She
active.
would be performing. She is one of the... I rate her, right after I was in read, as one of the finest female exponents of Calypso in Trinidad and Tobago and the world.
And does she follow the same tradition?
Huh?
She composes music, or does she do the same?
No, she's a composer.
Right.
She's a quality act. And this is a rare talent. You don't find them talents so here, there, and everywhere, right? So she will be on and she will have her own session. I want to explain something to you. When you come to this tent, a singer won't just come up and sing one song. They might do, everybody have a little spot.
Right.
So they create their own kind of mini concert within the big show.
Right.
You know, that is to give them a chance to explore the total creativity. Then we have a sensational guy here. Simba Lion. Simba Lion is a soca artist. But the thing with Simba Lion is that Simba Lion always stand up to promote and to ensure that the soca artists in Tobago have a space. Yeah? He ain't afraid nobody. If the authority is doing wrong, he will tell them they're doing wrong. In other words, Simba Lion is a true Calypso soca warrior. He ain't afraid nobody. And he will be performing. But along with him is going to be who I consider to be the finest exponent of soca in Tobago. And not including Marvin, who is in that. This guy is a fellow called Dave Sampson from Moriah.
Okay.
Dave Sampson I have seen him, you know, from the time I was by Tobago News covering events and so on. But Dave Sampson is one of the finest exponents of soca in Tobago. He have all the dance moves, he have the songs, and he's a dynamite on stage. So he would be something to behold. So when you have these two soca men clashing here, and then other than that, we have a number of other young soca men who will be on set on the night. And we have about 3 surprises that we want to keep close. You know, we're not exposing them as
just yet.
Right? So that what we will have on Thursday night, and even after the show, after our 10 show, I have invited about 3 of Tobago top artists to come to give some performances, which include was in Reed and Punches. Now, but what we'll be having on Thursday night is a rare exposition of the Calypso culture of Tobago performed live and alive on stage. And this is one of the problems with Tobago. The Tobago artist does not get enough opportunity to perform, you know? And the only way I could improve, Brian Lara couldn't be a good cricketer if he didn't practice for hours. Brighto couldn't be good, was good if he didn't practice for hours. You have to practice. And as you practice, you get to refine your art, you get to refine your talent, and then you get to be something something to behold at a particular point. Right? So
this is happening on Thursday.
Thursday, but I also want to say that we'll be having some other shows around. We have one in Crown Point Carnival Friday night. Now, but the big one would be on the Sunday the 26th after Carnival. The Sunday after Carnival, whenever all the tourists come over and so on, we are going at the Boko Integrated Facility from about 3 p.m. with 6 heavy goat races. Then we'll be having a number of high-profile artists to join the cast. People like Ainsley King would be there. I expect Calypso Crazy to be there. And a guy called Ding Dong, a young fella. So we will culminate in our activity down there, and we
Right.
would invite everybody to be a part of the opening. Now, the opening is free.
Right.
Imagine that. Or you're getting all these top
For
acts.
free.
Yeah, Thursday night, we say, well, look, come out to the Green Light. That is where Green Light used to be. It's
Yes.
now Retro Palace, and we will have one of the greatest explosion of artistic Calypso culture ever on a Tobago stage.
All right, and that is Thursday of this week, and that's the opening. And according to Upuku, it's all free. It's all free, so there's no cost attached. So the public has been invited to come on out, and this, again, and we have to remind them here that this is the Tobago All-Stars Calypso 10th opening. And as he mentioned, some of the big names, Rosalind Reed and the others, Punchin and
No, this
Simba Lion.
and Rosalind would just be after the show. They're not
After
really
the show,
they're
all
not
right.
on the cast itself.
No, but
Because
you
they
mentioned
would
some other names like Simba Lion, and we heard Simba at while we were at last week, Friday, he was on our program. And some of the
The
younger
new
ones.
sensation, Aisha, don't forget Aisha.
Yes, Aisha.
Aisha Nichols.
Aisha
big singer.
All right.
And she's the future of Tobago Calypso, mark my word.
All right, but we're going to be listening out for her, definitely. So we want to thank you for being with us this morning, Upuku. And like I said, this man knows culture. He knows Calypso, all right? And he understands the history of Carnival. And so we want to thank you again for being with us this morning. Viewers, we're going to leave it there. And we want to thank you for joining us today. We've got lots more coming up on the program today. And tomorrow is our Youth Wednesdays. So we want to encourage you to log on, be logged on. We've got GMT coming up with Chanel Felix in just a little while. So have a great morning as you continue on with us here on Tobago Updates. Bye-bye, Tobago.
If you're looking for a new dining option in Tobago, then Kitchen Creole should be on your agenda. The restaurant has now extended its opening hours to 10 p.m. to include dinner.
We had no other choice but to extend our hours to open for dinner. We have been at it right through with just breakfast and lunch, but the circumstances prevail where we have no other choice. As you mingle when you come inside, you will see our dinner a la carte menu from 4 to 10 p.m. And we have the menus here and we have the wine list.
I'll smile, I know what it takes to fool this town. I'll do it.
Showing my glass is non-alcoholic, so it works well with the medication. But I want us to raise our glasses as we toast to a prosperous business, we toast to immense success, we toast to longevity, which might be a challenge for some businesses, and we know restaurants are particularly challenged with the issue of longevity, but in this case, we toast to longevity, goodwill, and good support from both residents and visitors alike, and above all, a double portion of blessing, as was asked by the Reverend. So hip hip hip.
Unstoppable today. Unstoppable today. Unstoppable today.
In this moment, Mr. Azar, the best thing that comes to mind is the saying that fortune favors the brave, always. And you have been in this industry for quite a while. And not just in the industry, but you have also been very integral in terms of your corporate social responsibility. We worked together in golf last year, but long before that, you were there working in football. You eventually gave us in Speyside Sean Robinson. That was part of our building out of Sideways that is still very successful. And it just shows that when you sow one seed, We just don't know how far and wide it will go.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice car get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry. If your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. If sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry. If times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denise.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Tobago with your host Chanel Felix here on a Tuesday morning. And guys, you know, when you see me here on Tuesday, we are talking business and politics. And here on the island of Tobago, a lot has been erupting in the area of business, and we have had a number of businessmen and stakeholders. Even the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce recently having their to let the people speak session, where a number of businessmen were able to come forward and express some of their concerns and give some of their recommendations where business is concerned on the island. Now, this morning, I have the privilege of sitting with me, the Chief Advisor to the Chief Secretary, Mr. Anselm Richards. Good morning, Mr. Richards. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to sit with you. This morning, we're talking business on the island. We're addressing a number of the concerns. We're talking about some of the recommendations. We're talking about some of the bailouts or assistances that have been given to members of the business community recently. And what are some of the plans moving forward to address the concerns of businessmen and women on the island here of Tobago? So as you start off, from your perspective, where you sit as Chief Advisor, would you say business is flourishing on the island?
Well, coming out from the impact of COVID-19, you know, most of our businesses are still in the recovery mode. Because if
Mr. I believe we are maybe having a bit of an issue with your audio, so we'll get that fixed. But a business on the island of Tobago.
Right.
Okay, you should be all right now.
Yeah, I should be. Hear me now?
Let me get my go ahead from my producers that they're hearing. Yes, they can hear you. So do you think business is thriving on the island?
Well, businesses, at least they are surviving, because we are coming out from the impact of the COVID-19, which was really about two years. And remember that the Tobago economy, which is really tourism-led, government power, was only reopened fully around Easter last year, when all the restriction was, and we start receiving international flights. So the tourism sector is in a recovery. So we are saying that the businesses, yes, they are facing some cash flow challenges and so forth, but at least they are surviving at this particular point in time. We understand that some of them may be carrying some, some payment issues in terms of the cash flow challenges, but at least they are up and running. And this administration is preparing to provide whatever assistance we can provide in keeping with our fiscal constraints.
All right, excellent. And I am not sure if you would have heard some of the comments that were made by the chamber here on the island. One of those things have been the concerns of contractors and those outstanding payments, especially for some of the smaller businesses who are depending on those contract payments in order to fit a number of their outstanding debts to the banks. Let us know what is being done to really keep the open communication with those businesses and to get those payments out to them.
Well, if you recall, the Chief Secretary has made a commitment, a public commitment to meet all the outstanding financial liabilities or liabilities that his administration would have inherited from the last administration. But you see, we have to put this into the context of the THA. This administration inherited over close to $1 billion in liabilities. Our annual budget is $2.5 billion maximum. Our development program is $300 million. You owe contractors in excess of $400 million. There is no way, even if the PDP did not win the election, there is no way that the administration or any administration of the THA could have liquidated all those liabilities in one fiscal year. So there has to be a prioritizing of the payment or the drawdown or the pay down of those liabilities, and that has to be executed in a very fiscally responsible manner. So the divisions have been making payments to our contractors. So there is no malice in this administration that there is a policy position not to pay contractors. That is not the situation. We are experiencing cash flow problems just as the country is, and the THA can only pay when it has cash in its account. So that is really the challenge. So it's a real balancing act. But the important thing, the Chief Secretary and the Secretary of Finance has made a public commitment to meet all its financial obligations to all its service providers in Tobago, including the contractors.
Right, but do you think this is sufficient, the level of communication that is happening at this time? Is it sufficient for the dialogue between the contractors or the businessmen and their relationship with the banks?
All right, so let me speak to the issue specifically with the contractors, because I was tasked by the Chief Secretary to deal with that, to lead a special committee that is looking into the payments of that. So when that committee was appointed in August last year, we wrote the major contractors, because we have to do this thing in phases. And we called them to the table. They came, we had the conversation. We came to an agreement as to how we are going to execute the payment in phases. And we give them a written agreement how that is going to happen. And what the problem we had, and the THA was being run in a particular way that makes it difficult for you to really accelerate how you pay these funds, because this is taxpayers' money, it's public money, and there are a number of regulatory and legal obligations that you need to follow to spend taxpayers' money. So when the contractors resubmitted their invoices, their documentation was not in a state of readiness for payment. So we have to do the verification, we have to get the certification that the work was done. We didn't have that. We have to send back out the engineers with the contractors on the job to visit every one of the projects to ensure that the work was actually done. So all those procedural things are consuming time. We have made the funds available to pay those first batch of contractors as of September last year. But when they submitted their invoices and their documentation was not in order, so we could not have made the payment. Because you can't take taxpayers' money and pay a contractor because he submitted an invoice and there is no verification that the work was done. So when contractors are making the statement that the administration doesn't want to pay them, they must speak the truth, because these contractors were fully participating. We written to them, we had a meeting with them. We had them go back out with the contractors, with the engineer at works. That process was only completed in December last year. Mm-hmm. We are in the process of processing the payment for these contractors. We are having constant communication with them. So anyone who is trading in a public narrative that this administration is anti-paying contractors is really a stranger to the truth and a stranger to the heart of this administration.
Right. And one of the recommendations that came out of that conversation with Mr. Demi-John Cruikshank was that your administration find some type of way to sit with the chamber, sit with the businessmen, and sit with the banks and have that conversation with everyone at the table to truly explain to the bank so that a certain level of leniency can be extended to the businessmen, you know, to avoid them going into bankruptcy or into foreclosure. Has anything like that been done since you guys came into office?
The Chief Secretary have been leading conversation with the Bankers Association. We have had a few meetings with the Bankers Association. We have been looking at options. We have spoken with Development Finance to see a way how we can assist businesses. We have spoken to the Bankers Association. There's a conversation taking place with the Republic Bank. We are even looking internally in terms of our own internal mechanism for providing support, financial support to businesses, how we can upgrade that to treat with the challenges. This is not a straight line equation. This is a very complex issue. it is a very complex, you're talking about government, you're talking about public responsibility, you're talking about private enterprises. We are all in this together. It takes time. We can't wake up one morning and say, we are going to do X, Y, Z. We have to do the calculation, we have to do the analysis, and then we have to come to that place where we can deliver the sweet spot, as it were, to both the public and private sector businesses and so forth, without really creating any negative trade-off as it relates to any of the parties. So you have the public, you have business, you have government. It's a tripartite arrangement. We have to ensure that we do the calculation to ensure that triangle is well defined and well balanced, and the flows are all to the benefit of all the parties that are connected in that triangular relationship.
Oh, okay, and I'm gonna go across a bit here into some of the commitments that the Chief Secretary has made as his advisor. He has made a number of definitive statements in regards to the delivery of a number of things. For example, he said that we would have seen the final draft of that audit that was being done on the contractors, and we have not seen that as yet. We also will promise to see a reshuffling of his administration that we have not yet seen. As the advisor, can you tell us why some of these things have not been delivered, or why we are getting definitive dates on these type of things?
Okay, so the issue with the reshuffling, that's a matter for the mind of the Chief Secretary.
Right.
I cannot speak to that.
Right,
the Chief Secretary will do his reshuffling when his spirit releases him to do that.
Right.
These are not.
But he did tell us that we could look forward to seeing that at the end of the last month, and we are already in February.
Well,
so
don't worry. Keep tuned. Things are happening. But give the Chief Secretary the space to make his calculation. Because when you are making adjustment in your government, it's not an easy feat.
That is understood. However, does he want to continue making these type of promises in terms of having the public look forward to things happening at a certain time and not delivering?
The Chief Secretary is one of the most honest person we have as a leader, or in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And I am saying it this morning. The Chief Secretary honesty is as pure as a child. And we are lucky to have a man like Fali Chavez Agustin leading us today. With all his, and he's growing into the position, right? He's not a perfect person. What I'm saying is that one of the credits we have is that we have a Chief Secretary who is young and honest and is prepared to help every single Tobagonian. That is his ambition, you know, to ensure every child, every family, and every community on this island is benefit to the maximum capacity that he can afford. And yes, all of us make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And I'm saying that one of the blessings Tobago has is that it has a Chief Secretary who is honest, young, and prepared to go out of his wits to help every single child on this island. And if you don't want to believe me, live and you will experience it.
Okay. And so what about the final draft?
So the Chief Secretary will deal when he's comfortable, and when he makes his calculation to reassess and reset his administration, he will come and make that announcement. Okay? In terms of the final draft of the forensic audit, that has to do with the auditors. I can say without fear of contradiction, we are nearing completion of that. And I'm certain that within the coming weeks, the Chief Secretary will be in a position to come to the public and say, this is the final draft. This is what the findings are saying. Once we have no legal blockage to that, because, you know, there have been some legal challenges to the forensic audit, right? And we don't know if there may be a gag order restraining the THA from publishing or saying anything on the finding of that, because contractors have taken the THA to court in response to the THA putting in place a system for us to understand what happened with over $500 million of our money.
All right. And so then the question therein lies, is it that premature announcements are being made? Because we're at this point now, we're at the end of the year, we're into New Year 2023. And because of all these complexities that are happening in the background that we are unaware of, is it that we're having a number of premature announcements? Because we heard last week when I had the either fortune or misfortune of sitting here with Mr. Ho-Choi Charles, and he expressed that the Chief Secretary had prematurely announced that he had this committee of advisors of which he sat on. So as an advisor, how are you dealing with these premature announcements?
Well, let me tell you something. And I'm happy that you raised Mr. Charles' name. And I sure every Tobagoan understand who Hutchins Charles is. Hutchins Charles sees one man in this world, Hutchins Charles. Hutchins Charles sat here and he said nobody in Tobago understands the THA Act. Even Orville London didn't understand the Act. Orville London, who led this island for 16 years, didn't understand the THA Act. So that Act is written in Hutchins Charles' language. He's the only person on the island who could understand it. I leave that there. I would say nothing else. He sees one man and one man only. So I wouldn't say anything about Mr.
But were you a part of the decision to bring him on as an advisor?
That's the remit of the chief secretary. I do appoint advisors. So
Okay.
Mr. Charles is Mr. Charles, so I'll leave Mr. Charles there. I think all of us in Tobago have had decades of Mr. Charles, and we know who the man is. He has defined himself, and we are happy to have a man like Mr. Charles who reveals to us daily who he is. Okay? I have no problem with that. And I salute him to being honest, to come to the people of Tobago so that they can see who Mr. Charles is. Okay? So the issue, you have to understand the complexity of governance, right? So let us speak to the issue of the forensic audit. So you hire a company to do this work for you. They give you a delivery time as to when this thing is going to be completed. You speak to your people based on that. There are development in the process that delays the delivery. Then the chief secretary is being blamed for making a premature announcement. Government is not a straight line issue. Government is a very complex, interweaving set of activities that and when you're dealing with the management of people, it's a very dynamic, fluid situation will change. The chief secretary may have a definite position on an issue now as he speaks to you, and when he walks through the gate, he got new intelligence, the position has to change. It is not a static issue, it's a very fluid issue. So to calculate that the chiefs have promised to the people of Tobago something that is premature is to say that you don't understand the fluid nature of governance, you don't understand the dynamic nature of governance, and so forth. But as I said before, we have to understand that we have a young man in the person of Farley Chavez Agustin, who is pure in his mind, spirits, and thought. And I think he's appointed for this season for this island.
Excellent. And at this point in time, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about your advising to the chief secretary and where we're going with the, in terms of that Tobago Development Bank idea and bailout for the Tobago business sector. It's something that a number of business persons has been looking out for. So let's continue with that conversation after we return from the break. So guys, remember to share the live, and tell somebody that I'm on right now talking with the chief advisor, Mr. Anselm Richards himself, and we're getting into something. See you guys soon after the break.
New dawning as the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me name.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up and look, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and look. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
It's a different type of thing down there, and we party till we drop down there, with a lot of pretty girls down there, down in Tobago.
Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denise here.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun.
Good morning again and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago here on Tobago Updates. And the conversation is interesting as we delve into what is happening in regards to business and politics here on the island of Tobago. And as I sit with the Chief Advisor, Mr. Anselm Richards, this morning, we're talking about his job as the advisor and what is happening in regards to the business sector on the island. Now, there has been a conversation about the Tobago Development Bank that has been happening in this space for a while and bailouts for Tobago businesses post-COVID-19. Tell us about that.
All right, so let me deal firstly with the issue of bailout for the Tobago business. And as I said before, this administration and the Chief Secretary made a commitment to assist Tobago businesses. As a matter of fact, one of his mantras is that no Tobago indigenous business should fail under his stewardship. And that's the purity of the man I speak to. So when we came in and we understood and we did an analysis of the impact of COVID-19, Dr. Hazel's unit, the Economic Research Unit at the Division of Finance, so we have some data as to how the COVID-19 would have impacted businesses in Tobago. And we set out to set up a program to assist businesses in terms of creating cash flow because they are suffering from a cash flow challenges. So we looked at, as I said, we looked at the development finance to see if they can execute the program for us. We spoke with the Bankers Association. There was a conversation with Republic Bank to execute that program. When we had the conversation with Development Finance, they pointed us to a national program that the government of Trinidad and Tobago had for businesses. And that program offered businesses $600,000. No interest, no collateral. 2 years moratorium, and you repay, it's a 7 years program, you repay the $600,000 in 5 years, the last 5 years of the 7 years. So you had $600,000, the government take all the interest, all the liability. You have it for 2 years, you restart your business, you restock, and you run for 2 years, you don't pay anything, and then in the final 5 years, you pay $10,000 a month for 60 months, and you pay off the thing. We brought that to the attention of some of our businesses in Tobago, and they were unable to participate in that program for one reason or the other. I can't say what the problem is. One businessman, when I pointed him to that, said, when you do that, they take part of the money, you have to be compliant with your national insurance, you have to be compliant with your VAT, and so forth. So we have challenges with our businesses in Tobago. Beyond the cash issue, there are things that our businesses, the skills and knowledge capital to manage a business successfully, it is absent to a large degree in the business space. Because there's a thing in business operation when times are good called retained earnings that you put aside for occasion like this. You understand? And I made a point to a colleague recently. I say you don't see the Almandos, you don't see the Singh and the Richards lining up for assistance. And it has to do with the business culture of these organizations. So there is those issues that we have to deal beyond the financing. Because let me tell you this, when we review the financing programs of the THA, the issue for our businesses in Tobago is not so much financing as opposed to the business acumen, the knowledge and understanding to do your books, to keep your records, to understand cash flow management, to understand retaining earnings. So there's a deeper problem that the business chamber need to deal with businesses in Tobago than money. Money is an issue, but I'm saying that if the business chamber is honest, and if those who are riding with the business chamber are honest, they are all aware that there's a deeper underlying problem for our businesses in Tobago as it relates to business management, right? So I made that point. So they could not participate in that. The THA has been looking across the system, to see how it can. Remember, we are constrained with cash. We have a near $1 billion liability. So we have to do the calculation, we have to balance to make the funding available so that we can assist the businesses. So yes, the Business Development Bank is on the agenda. We are talking to a former deputy governor of a central bank, one of our own, to come in and help us put that together. We are also looking, as I said, the BDU, the Business Development Unit that provides funding. We are looking at upgrading that to a degree that can provide in quick time some assistance to our businesses once we make the cash available. So we do the distribution, the assessment within the THA system. So we are looking to upgrade those processes to ensure that we can deliver the kind of support to the businesses. So it's not that the business concerns or the concerns of the business community in Tobago is not engaging the active attention of the administration. It is. Maybe the rate at which they want it to happen, it is not happening at that speed. And I understand that. But we are actively pursuing means and ways to assist these businesses. So it's not that we're sitting on our hands and we are not saying anything. We have to ensure that at the end of the day, when we provide this assistance, we are not compromising our position to deliver the public goods and services that we are mandated to provide to the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago. Not saying that our business community are not entitled to receive support from the government of the island, from the island government, but I'm saying that there has to be a balancing act to ensure that our children get their school feeding, transportation for school, jobs in the hospital and so forth. So it's a complex, as I said. Governance is a very big, fluid set of activities that intersect.
And when you talk about expanding the current role of the BDU, is it that you guys are looking into more of a emergency business bailout sector or department under the BDU that would allow for businesses to receive that emergency money in a shorter time span? Because we know the process of acquiring that BDU grant sometimes seems to be a bit lengthy and tedious. So tell me more about that particular area.
Well, we are looking at that. So we are looking at the whole spectrum of possibilities. That is one of the issues. But at the end of the day, I think the longer term issue is that all the work that we are doing is going to feed into the much needed innovative financing institution like the Tobago Development Bank going forward. So we are doing all the preparatory work. We are looking at all the options. We are looking at models in the region. We are looking at international models. That's what happened when we had the meltdown in 2008. So we are looking at the system. We are doing the work. We are doing the research, and we are doing the calculation. So when we come forward to say, well, we have something to assist the businesses, we have something that is steady, we have something that is solid, we have something that complies with the financial regulation of the public service taxpayers' money, because at the end of the day, when the Auditor General comes in, we must be able to account for the activities and the expenditure of the government of Tobago.
Excellent. And I want to go over into the topic of external funding outside of the central government. Now, this has been something that the Chief Secretary spoke extensively about on the campaign trail, and even as he got into office, about not being solely dependent on the central government for the type of funding that Tobago needs to fit that development agenda. Now we're in a position where we can clearly see that we have a certain level of debt that would not allow us to do a number of things that were recommended or promised, like that the plan for Scarborough and a number of other things, infrastructural development work, especially where road infrastructure is concerned on the island. The Chief Secretary, under the office of the Deputy Chief Secretary, had given a mandate then to the Deputy Chief Secretary to go out and find funding for Tobago, which included funding out of the diaspora. Now, since Mr. Duke is no longer the Deputy Chief Secretary, it seems from a public perception that a number of the things that fell under his remit have fell apart. Tell us about that.
No, that is the truth. And I said, well, probably because there have been no announcement. In terms of the issue of the diaspora, I have been looking into that. I was in New York with Mr. Duke when we made that diaspora connection. Coming out from that trip, we are now in the process where we are establishing with Medgar Evers College in New York an arrangement, MOU, where they are producing a global diaspora registration platform. Because we talk about diaspora, but if you really want to mobilize and activate the diaspora, you have to know where they are. You have to have a connection. So we have signed up. We are at the final stage of the MOU. I have been mandated by the Chief Secretary to look into that. I have had several meetings with Medgar Evers College, and they are designing the MOU. So we are going to build out what we call a global diaspora registration platform. So wherever in the world you are, you can go online and register on that. One of the features of the platform will be that we can communicate to all our persons in the diaspora with one stroke of a button. So you have a broadcast feature in it. So you don't have to send individual emails to everybody. So you have a broadcast feed. So when you put that broadcast in and you send it, it goes to every single Tobagonian who are registered on that global diaspora platform. So work is being done. Work is being done the time, and we don't want to be premature, as you would have charged the Chief Secretary to be in announcing those matters. So we are managing the announcement of those matters. So not because you are not seeing me means that I am not working for you.
Right.
The work is being done.
But we
right.
had not
so the
heard
issue,
much about that diaspora engagement since after the Deputy
right.
Chief Secretary, former Deputy Chief
probably
Secretary.
this is a good occasion for me to update the listening public and yourself as to the work that is being done. So when the MOU is finalized and the signing is taking place, then there will be a more formal announcement as to where we are going. But the diaspora remains a very significant pillar and foundation in the development strategy of this administration. As we speak to the issue of funding outside the budgetary allocation from Parliament, we have to understand the complexity of that, right? And there's a need for additional funding to fund the development aspiration and agenda of this administration. But we also have to understand the legal and constitutional construct of the central government, the island government. You know that by law, if we have to borrow any money, we have to get permission from Port of Spain and the Minister of Finance. We have seen that with the bonds that the last administration would have borrowed 2 bonds. The 300 million was approved. They got 165. That is a liability that we have to repay at the end of the day in 2027 in a bullet payment. We have to find $165 million. We have been paying $8 million interest every year on that. So borrowing money, there's a cost to it. And if you borrow those monies and you don't put them into productive activity that generates revenue, then you will have to use your parliamentary allocation to pay back for those monies. So it's a very complex issue. It's not a simple, running a country is not a simple issue. It's not a very, very simplistic issue. It's a very complex issue. So that is one thing. So we understand the legal constraint that you have to get permission. We are looking at creative ways that we can get grant funding. We can invite foreign direct investment. There's still the legal requirement for the central government to get into that foreign direct investment aspect of it. We are in the position of building out the trade division, the trade department in the Division of Finance. That is now part of the Division of Finance. That will play a lead role in our whole trade issue, which includes foreign direct investment, as we will fitted into that department. So work is being done. We are pursuing it. We are looking at grant funding. We are looking at foreign investment. As a matter of fact, we are looking to build out a whole prospectus as to areas that people can fund, can invest in Tobago. So, and we can have it posted online, probably on our diaspora platform. So you can say, well, okay, there's an opportunity for you to invest in an eco-lodge facility in the Colonial Estate. If you have the resources, the THA may partner with you, PPP arrangement, you come in with your investment, we make the land available, we have a management contract, a profit sharing arrangement so that the people of Tobago can benefit, there will be employment and so forth. So we are looking at the whole spectrum of possibilities to move this island forward.
And so you are leading the charge in regards to the trade department as well as diaspora engagement at the Office of the Chief Secretary?
I am leading the research in setting up those matters and so forth. So things are happening. Things are happening daily, things are happening by the minute, things are happening by the second, things are happening by the hour. So things are happening. Probably they are not happening at the pace the population is. And I understand that we are living in a very challenged environment now with higher food prices, restriction on everything. So I understand the anxiety of the population, but I'm just saying that this administration is only a year in office. I think it has done some good work at this particular point in time. We have some exciting things to happen going forward. And I think Tobago is in a good place with this leader we have in Mr. Augustine Valley. And I'm certain that with his ambition to make Tobago the greatest little island on the planet, I am certain if all of us put our hands to the wheel, we can deliver this island to that destination. We are at this point, we know the destination, the journey is where we have to come together to ensure that we all arrive there safely, happily, and we find the sugar spot for every competing interest in this island.
And
No child, no family, no business, no individual will be left behind.
Understood. But there is that conflicting sentiment where on one hand, there's a concern of premature announcements being made, and on the other hand, there's a concern that there isn't enough consistent public engagement to let the public know what is happening in certain areas. For instance, you just explained that a number of work is being done in regards to setting up the trade department and the diaspora engagement and stuff like that. As the advisor, how do you advise the Chief Secretary and this administration moving forward to bridge that gap between not making announcement too prematurely, but still keeping their ears and eyes on the ground and letting the people know that work is indeed being done in the areas where the concerns lie?
Right. So we have two issues here. One, if you're following what is happening in this space, the Executive Council is out in communities. We were at Palativia last week, Tuesday. We are in Roxborough tonight, later on, I think. And that is where we go from community to community, speaking to the people as to what their government is doing for them. So that is happening. So there is an active public engagement taking place. So to say that the public is not being informed is really not following what is really happening in the reality. So the reality is that the Executive Council is having all these community meetings, speaking to the people directly. You can come and ask your questions and so forth. So that is happening. And there are records for that. So that is settled. There is the issue now with the premature announcement as you have defined them to be. And as I said before, you have to understand the fluid nature of how government functions. So you may have a contractor doing something for you and he gives you, we have had about 5 different dates since we are in office for the delivery of the administrative complex from Udicott in Cudler Hall. 5 different delivery dates. And today they can't deliver it. And the Chief Secretary may come and say, I am moving into my new office at the end of December. Because Udicott told them so. Yeah. They are managing the project. But December comes and Udicott say, well, we can't hand over yet, we ain't finished. Then you classify the Chief Secretary announcement as being premature. So you have to understand the dynamics of how these things happen, right? And what Tobagonians must see beyond those announcements is the good heart and the goodwill of a man who is willing to tell you, I am going to do this, or I'm going to deliver this, regardless of the intervening possibility that it may not happen. But at least he alerts the nation. He alerts his people that he intends to do X, Y, Z. And we should take that as a positive.
And I would assume that as the advisor,
define it as being, being premature.
But I would assume as the advisor,
you
are informing him about how he should make those types of announcements or give hints to those things in a smart way that doesn't make him liable to any particular date.
Any particular definition as being premature.
I would assume that. But Mr. Richards, before you leave this morning, I know that the business community, you spoke about bailouts, you spoke about some of the areas that you would have steered businessmen into to get funding from the central government, and a number of areas that you guys are still looking into where building that Tobago Development Bank is concerned to give the necessary bailout and emergency funding. What else can the business community here in Tobago look forward to in this upcoming year without being premature, but things that they can know is coming to assist them?
Right. So what we want to do, because we recognize that the problem here is not finance, as some people think it is. So what we want to do, we want to have 2 programs. We want to have a system where we can provide the financial support that is much needed in some areas, but we also want to provide training with the required business knowledge, the business capital to run a successful and effective business. That is a problem. That is a major problem in the chamber. The chamber needs to sit up and take note of what is happening with some of its members and the ability to effectively manage and run a business and provide the support in terms of training. And this is not only about money. The issue with the business community in Tobago is not only about money. It's about the acumen of running a successful and progressive business. And I want to leave Tobago with that. The THA under Mr. Chavez, Augustine, is prepared and has committed to provide assistance to the business community. It's a work in progress. You may mourn in the night, but joy cometh in the morning.
All right. And before you leave this morning, it wouldn't be like me unless I be the devil's advocate a bit here and say when Mr. Charles was here, he indicated that he wanted to separate himself from being deemed an advisor because he didn't feel like the decisions that would be made publicly by the Chief Secretary were through their reflection of any of the advice that they were giving. Where you are concerned, are you confident that the decisions that you are seeing in the public being made by the current Chief Secretary, Mr. Farley Chavez Augustine, comes from the advice that you confidently give in the background?
Of course, I advise the Chief Secretary. He takes counsel. But at the end of the day, the chief secretary is the chief secretary, and the final decision rests him. You know, on most occasions, we agree on matters, and he does take advice. But at the end of the day, the chief secretary is the one who is held accountable. So if anyone gives the chief secretary an advice, the chief secretary has to, because the chief secretary can't go and do everything the advisor tell him to do it, because the advisor becomes the chief secretary. So the chief secretary has to do two things. One, he has to do his political calculation in terms of his political delivery, because we come from a very technical, a purist technical position. Where remember the chief secretary has a political constituent and constituencies that he has to satisfy. We may come in with all the technical calculation, but when you measure that against the political implication, then the chief secretary may be of a different complexion. So we have to give the chief secretary the respect he needs. And let me tell you this, if anybody recall the era of Mr. Charles as chief secretary, Mr. Charles ever listened to anybody? Have a good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richards. And it's always a pleasure to sit with you and to hear a lot about what's happening in the business community here in Tobago and how you craft everything. It's always a pleasure to sit with you again. Thank you again for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again soon as matters begin to progress. Is there anything you have to say before you leave?
And the only thing I will say is that when I come here, I come with my right hand loaded with righteousness and truth.
All right.
I don't come here to blaspheme anyone. I don't come here to degrade anyone. I come here to speak truth to power, truth to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, truth to my people.
And guys, there you
Thank
have
you.
it, Mr. Anselm Richards, Chief Advisor to the Chief Secretary, political analyst, economist, a man on the ground, a man in the space. Guys, thank you so much for listening to us this morning. Thank you for adding your commentary in the comment section. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for letting people know that we are on this morning on Good Morning Tobago here on Tobago Updates, the #1 broadcasting station on the island. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and when you're looking for that great conversation to start your morning and asking the questions that you, the people on the ground, want to know, I am your girl, right? Okay, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
People strong.